Shalom, and welcome to Parsha Highlights and Insights. This is Rabbi Fischer, and this week we continue with the second section of the book of Devarim, all about mitzvot, and this is the Parsha known as Shoftim, Judges. In all, at least according to most opinions, there are 41 mitzvot in this parasha. We will see a little bit later on how to understand maybe a central theme that runs through this parasha. But first, we're going to look at the mitzvot of this parasha, and we can divide it up into 12 sections. First, as the name of the parasha, Shoftim, suggests, we learn about the importance of judges and officers to decide matters of law and to implement those matters of law. And the judges are told that they must judge with impartiality. The next part of the parasha is about the proper way to worship Hashem. On the one hand, says the Torah, we must prohibit the Asherah, that's a tree that's connected with Avodah Zarah, and even to reject the pillar, which perhaps at one time was acceptable, but has become so associated with Avodah Zarah that it is no longer acceptable, even dedicated to Hashem. And on the other hand, the Torah talks about the importance of not offering a blemished animal as a sacrifice to Hashem. In the next section of the parasha, third section of the parasha, we learn about idolatry. We talked about that before. Here we go into some detail about the punishment for idolatry. First of all, there has to be due process, interrogation of witnesses. There have to be two witnesses in order to convict. And if it is found that the person is guilty of idolatry, then the punishment is death by stoning. The Torah expands the discussion about the courts to talk about the highest court. In general, we are told that we must listen to the judges and to their rulings. The highest court in later history was called the Sanhedrin, the Supreme Court. And we're told that not only do we have to listen to the decisions of the judges, but when a court arrives at a decision, then all of the members of that court are obligated to accept that decision. And the Torah therefore talks about the case of the Zaken Mamre, the rebellious elder who had been a member of the court and refuses to accept the decision of the court. And this can lead to chaos, of course. And if found guilty, the person is executed by strangulation, and this takes place publicly so that everyone will learn about it. In the fifth section of the parasha, we talk about the institution of the king. If the people demand a king, and then this king who will be appointed must be obeyed, and he must be respected. He has, however, limits placed on his way of behaving. There are limits as to how many horses he may acquire for himself, how many wives he's permitted to marry, and he is obligated to write for himself a Torah scroll, and he takes that Torah scroll with him everywhere. And this means that as high an authority as the king is, he answers to Hashem. In the sixth section of the parasha, we learn about the function of the tribe of Levi. They do not receive a portion in the land. Instead, they are supported by the people. They do have a place to live, but they do not own land otherwise. And we are also told about the various gifts that are given to the Kohanim to support them. The meat from certain sacrifices. The Kohanim receive terumah, the first section that is separated from the produce, and also the first shearing of wool. And in general, the Kohanim have to serve faithfully. And when there are portions to be given to the Kohanim, uh, they have to divide these portions up equally. The Torah then has long discussions about knowing the future. First of all, we are prohibited from practicing any form of sorcery or witchcraft. Instead, we must be wholehearted with Hashem, completely devoted and trusting in Hashem. One way of finding out about the future is through a prophet, through a true prophet that Hashem has divulged the future to, if Hashem so decides, and then the prophet, if Hashem permits him to, passes that information on to the rest. We're permitted to ask the prophet for a sign, a kind of miracle, in order to determine that he is genuine. On the other hand, it is possible for a prophet to be false, to actually preach worship of idolatry. And this is a terrible sin. And this false prophet also is executed by strangulation. The next, if you're keeping track, is the 8th section of the Parsha, deals with the spilling of innocent blood, how to deal with when someone has been killed. First of all, we've talked about this before, there are 3 cities of refuge that have to be set aside, 3 on each side of the Yarden River. These cities of refuge are there for someone who has killed someone unintentionally. One, in order to protect them from a relative who might seek vengeance. It's not called for because this manslaughter took place unintentionally. And another reason for the city of refuge is to serve as a kind of atonement, because even though it was unintentional, the person still did take a life, and that requires atonement. We're told to mark the roads so that people know exactly how to get to the closest city of refuge. As the territory would be expanded, we're taught that it is required to add 3 more cities of refuge in the expanded territory. On the other hand, says the Torah, if a person has committed premeditated murder and has even escaped to a city of refuge, he is to be removed from there, and the punishment for premeditated murder with witnesses, with warning, etc., is death by decapitation. We have one section about moving the boundary. It's a brief section about trying to steal land by secretly moving a boundary marker between 2 properties. This is prohibited. It's particularly heinous in the land of Israel. And then the Torah deals with testimony, which we've touched on before. We're told that there have to be 2 or more witnesses, and if it's found that the witnesses were scheming or saying what they were saying in order to bring about the punishment of someone else, it is possible, if they are what are called edim zomimim, that they receive the punishment that their testimony, had it been true, would have brought about. The next section of the parasha deals with war, and this is discussed at some length. First of all, do not be afraid, because if you are obedient to Hashem, Hashem will make sure that you are victorious. As people get ready to go to war, the Kohen addresses the warriors and talks about various exemptions. Someone who has, for example, betrothed a wife but hasn't yet married her, and so on. And such a person might be preoccupied with this concern and not do his best And so such a person would be exempt from fighting on the front lines. The Torah then goes on to say that as you approach a place to make war, you must first offer it an option of peace, and uh, there are different formulations of that. Um, Torah distinguishes between obligatory wars, such as the war to conquer the land of Israel, and optional war, which might be engaged in if the king wants to expand his territory. Um, and then in the midst of all of this, we're given a very beautiful lesson that in the midst of waging war, maybe even creating a siege, you are not permitted to cut down fruit-producing trees. And this prohibition is not only during time of war. The point is that this is very often when it might happen. So even during war, one is not permitted to cut down trees that produce fruit. Rather, if you need trees, cut down those that do not produce fruit. In the final section of the Parsha, the 12th section, we have the mitzvah of the Eglah Arufah, the beheaded heifer. This is the case of a person who is clearly the victim of a murder. He's been found out in the field. The Torah requires that we measure from where the victim has been found to the closest city, and then the judges assemble. They go to uh, a barren valley, and they take a heifer that has not worked, and they kill it by beheading. Means that it can't be used at all. The meat can't be used. Uh, and the judges wash their hands over the body of the beheaded heifer and declare that they are not guilty of this, and they pray for Hashem's atonement. In the beginning of the parasha, we have the famous statement, Tzedek, Tzedek tirdof, justice, justice shall you pursue, so that you will thrive and occupy the land that Hashem is giving you. The Abarbanel talks about the mitzvot of this whole part of the book of Devarim and focuses on last week's parasha Re'eh and this week's parasha Shoftim. In Shoftim, the central themes are different from Re'eh. And Re'eh says the Abarbanel, the main theme that runs through Re'eh has to do with the Mikdash, with the sanctuary. And in Shoftim, the main theme that runs through so much of the parasha has to do with governing the people, where the text warns against the appointment of inappropriate judges. So judges are leadership. Seek out judges that are going to judge righteously and in an upright way. And the Torah goes on to give other examples of leadership in our parasha, whether it be the king, whether it be the prophet, whether it be the Kohanim and the Leviim. The point is to find a way of creating a just and equitable society. And it really starts from judges, because if we do not have the right kind of judges, then people will be punished who do not deserve punishment. And the converse is also true. That is the foundation of the just society that the Torah is trying to create. I thank you all very much for joining me in this examination of Parashat Shoftim. This has been Rabbi Abraham Fischer for Parasha Highlights and Insights, saying Shalom.